Sri Gurubhyo Namaha children, you are welcome for online platform. Ekkalaiva. Children, for a long time we are not met at all. So this is the first unit, first prose lesson for you. So how are you children? I feel that you are safe and secure yourself and you are hale and healthy, I believe. We'll start with the first lesson, prose lesson. First unit, prose lesson. You know that the lesson name is The Portrait of a Lady. Okay. It is written by Kushman Singh. So it had written by Kushman Singh. So he is an Indian writer and we are going to see what it about. Okay children, before that a few questions for you. Children, I feel that everybody has a grandmother. Yes. No, there is no word to or express how you people love your grandmother. So sometimes she will be correcting you and she will be very loving and she will be taking much care than your parents. When the absence of parents, grandmother's love is no bound. Even your parents sometimes scold you or threaten you or correcting you, your grandparents will come and stand before you and they will be supporting you and they will be just saying not to shout at you or not to correct you or whatever it is. I will tell in their understanding way. So that will be the way. So yes children, you understand it is about grandmother. The lesson is about a grandmother. Okay, the narrator expresses his view how his grandmother was treating him and how the relationship between his grandmother and him and how he is missing after his death and till she was alive, how lovable and caretaker she was for him. So that all will be narrated in this lesson. Now I hope you too have grandparents and some may not have, so really you will be missing. Maybe they are staying far away from you. Okay children, there is a question before you. What is neutral family and a joint family? And what is the drawback and what is the advantage of being a joint family? So there is a lot of distractions and disturbance will be there at the study time. But when you are going home, there will be somebody to welcome you at home. Suppose it is a neutral family, both the parents are going for work. We feel that you are missing love and care at home. When you go, you will be having a key and you have to open your door and you have to go inside and you have to just throw your bag and you have to just see four walls. But if it is a joint family, I believe that there will be uncle, aunt or grandparents or somebody there to welcome you and ask you some question and giving you water and some evening snacks or whatever it is. The love, care, affection, that all will be there when your grandparents are there or if it is a joint family. But if it is a neutral family, only 4 of you or 3 of you and you just think over your parents are not at home and your relatives also will not be there. It will be locked. Only a house will be there won't be an home at all. But if it is a joint family, the situation is different. It will be noisy, it will be always sound and it will be not calm or sometimes there will be always people among you and you never feel that you are all alone. So you will be feeling that there is a safe and security there in the joint family. And there will be fights and all end with the thing. But if it is a neutral family, there will be a fight, but there won't be anybody to support. Even if your parents were quarreling and your grandparents are not there, there won't be any full stop for that. If your grandparents or it is a joint family, they will be subsiding their sounds. So you know that joint family is always nice and compared to a neutral family. Neutral family is something good when there is lot of distraction and disturbance is there at the time. But mostly when children going to school and coming back, if nobody is there is no bound for the grandparents' love. Parents' love is always responsible and love both comes there. But grandparents mostly love. They will be correcting the grandchildren with their love, correction, with the affection, with the care, and there will be lot when grandparents saying very lovably, they will be accepting. So sometimes parents will be lovable, but not all the time. So sometimes they have to show their face and they have to irritate the children with, but grandparents, the love and care which they having will be just making it. Okay, children, we are going to see what a lesson. First we will see about the author and then we will go for the lesson. I hope that you are enjoying the class. Yeah. Now you can see who is this? Yeah, Kushman Singh. Children, you can see Kushman Singh. He is a Kushman Singh and he is author of the lesson. Kushman Singh is an Indian novelist and a lawyer. He is novelist and a lawyer. He is a lawyer as well as a novelist. He studied at St. Stephen's College, Delhi. So first he studied his college in St. Stephen's College in Delhi and King's College, London. Then he went for abroad for his studies to London, and there in King's College he studied. He joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1947. You know what is the year speciality, you know children, 1947? 1947 is a year of Indian independence. August 15th we got independence. So in that year he joined Indian Foreign Service. As a writer, he is best known for his keen secularism. He had taken mostly Indian situation and he explained that with the secularism. So here is, as a writer, he is best known for his keen secularism and schism and love for poetry. And schism of love for the poetry, loved poetry writing, and he wrote. And he served as editor of several literary and news magazines as well as 2 newspapers. So he had served as an editor of several literary and news magazines as well as 2 newspapers. Kushman Singh was awarded with Padma Bhushan in 1974. So in the year 1974, he got Padma Bhushan award and he got Padma Vibhushan. So he got Padma Vibhushan by the government of India and Sadhya Academy Fellowship by Sadhya Academy of India. So he got 3 prizes. One is Padma Bhushan in the year 1974 and Vibhushan, Padma Vibhushan by the government of India and Sadhya Academy Fellowship by Sahitya Academy of India. So the important play, The Mark of Vishnu, a history of Sikh. He had written a book called History of Sikh because he belongs to Sikh family. He wrote about Sikhism and he wrote about the Sikhs. And then the Mark of Vishnu, he wrote a lesson about Mark of Vishnu. And the train to Pakistan, first train to the Pakistan, he had heard about it and he started writing about the train to Pakistan. Then Success Mantra, he wrote a book called Success Mantra. We Indians and Death at My Doorstep. So we Indians, he wrote. And last, Death at My Doorstep, or some of his brilliant works. So other brilliant works are, he wrote The Mark of Vishnu, A History of Sikhs, The Train to Pakistan, Success Mantra, We Indians and Death at My Doorsteps are some of his famous works. Children, I think you understand about Kushman Singh, the author, and when you writing a paragraph, that is very much important. Okay children, once again you can see he was an Indian novelist and a lawyer by profession. He is novelist as well as a lawyer and he studied at St. Stephen's College in Delhi and King's College in London. He joined the Indian Foreign Service in the year 1947 and as a writer he is best known for his secularism, schism and love for poetry. He loved writing poetry. He served as the editor of several literary and news magazines as well as 2 newspapers. Kushman Singh was awarded with Padma Bhushan in the year 1974 and Padma Vibhushan by the Government of India and Sadhitya Academy by fellowship by Sadhitya Academy of India. So his well known or famous works are The Mark of Vishnu, A History of Sikh, The Train to Pakistan, Success Mantra, We Indian and Death at My Footsteps, were his important works. Okay children, shall we move to the lesson? Okay. Okay, so children, you can see this is a neutral family where only 4 of them are there, and this is joint family where your grandparents, uncle, aunt and others all will be there. Okay. Based on the visual given above, give 5 words, phrases each to describe these 2 families type. Nuclear family, more members, love and care. So you can write like that. Joint family, so you can write. So here nuclear family, 4 less members, there more members. Here less care, the others care also is there. When parents is complaining or grumbling or shouting at you, you can run to your grandparents for escapism. So you can understand. So you know what is neutral family and what joint family. You will be writing 5 points and send to my WhatsApp children. Okay. Here is a story that brings out the bond between the author and his loving grandmother. So you can write what to say, a bond between the author and his grandmother, the loving grandmother. So the author is just writing about his grandmother. He loves his grandmother, and what all the grandmother is doing for him, he is sharing and narrating it there. Okay, so shall we move to the lesson? First paragraph we will go. My grandmother, like everybody's grandmother, was an old woman. She had been loved and old and wrinkled for the 20 years that I had known her. People said that she had once been young and pretty and had even had a husband. But that was hard to believe. My grandfather's portrait hung above the mantelpiece in the drawing room. He wore a big turban and loose-fitting clothes. His long white beard covered the best part of his chest, and he looked at least 100 years old. He did not look the sort of person who would have a wife or a children. He looked as if he could only have lots and lots of grandchildren. As for my grandmother. So the author narrates his feeling about his grandmother. What is feeling about his grandmother? My grandmother, like everybody's grandmother. So he knows that everybody in the world will be having a grandmother. May they'll be missing them, but they'll be having a grandmother. Without a grandmother, your parents won't be there. Without your parents, you won't be there. So the author was very clear in that, and he is telling very clearly to you, my grandmother, like everybody's grandmother. So my grandmother is old as everybody's grandmother. Everybody's grandmother will be old. So like that, my grandmother also old. And what is familiar was an old woman. So like others' grandmother, my grandmother also an old woman. She had been old and wrinkled. So you know that when you are becoming old, what happens to your skin? You'll be having wrinkles on your face and body and everywhere. So all your skin will be shrunken and there will be a lot of flesh all will be gone, and only there will be a wrinkles because of age. When you are aged, your body, face, everywhere you will be having wrinkles. That wrinkle shows that you are aged. So if you are aged, the wrinkle will be there. It is a natural one, it will happen to every aged person. So his grandmother also aged and old, so she is also having the same. So he says that every grandmother will be aged person and they will be having a wrinkle, the same my grandmother also has. Okay. Wrinkled for 20 years that I had known her. So the author was 20 years old and he knows a grandmother for 20 years. That 20 years he had seen his grandmother only aged, not young. So it's quite nature that in young age she would have given a birth to the son or daughter, and the son and daughter grown up and they got married, and after they got married only they will be getting grandchildren. There is no chance for the grandchildren to see their grandparents in their young age. It's not possible. So he had seen his grandmother for 20 years, and all the 20 years he happened to see his grandmother in his old age. So it is very clear, children. So he says that. So here she had been old and wrinkled for the 20 years that I had known her. The grandson known her grandmother for 20 years, and for the 20 years they were aged. So it is very clearly he is explaining. People said, so here when the grandson was just going out, he happened to see some people and they used to see, you know, your grandmother was very young. When she was young, she was very beautiful. So we can't see her like that, and she was very energetic lady. She was working and she was busy. So like that somebody used to tell. So that was heard by the narrator, the author, Kushman Singh, and he is not able to accept that because he had seen for 20 years the grandmother as a old woman. So till this it is very clear, children. Okay, shall we move to the next? Okay. People said that she had once been young and pretty. So what the people around them had said your grandmother was very young when she was young, she was very young and beautiful. In those days your grandmother was so beautiful, so pretty. So like that, when she was young, she was pretty. And even had a husband. They said that when she was young, she was came to my home with her husband. And here the Kushman Singh, the narrator, who had not seen his grandfather, and he is not able to accept that his grandmother was young, and once she got married and she had an husband and she had a kids and they all grown. So that all only he is imagining that his grandmother is for past 20 years he had seen like this and only like that. You know, sometimes I too used to tell my children, students, that when I was young like you, I used to be an athlete, good athlete, and I was running a race and I got so many medals. They will be saying, Miss, don't make fun, Miss. You are so fat, how you would be run? And I said, no, in young age I was not like this. But they are not acceptable because till they come to school, they see me as a grown lady. So only that will be in their mind. The same way, Kushman Singh had seen his grandmother in his old age, and his mind is not ready to accept that she was young and she too had an husband and she was so pretty in that young age. When people used to talk about that, he is not ready to accept, his mind is not accepting that. So it is very clear to you? Okay. So being young and pretty and even had a husband, so he was thinking, where is his husband? I never seen my grandma is having young and having a husband. Because yes, after his birth only, she is aged and he had seen from that age only. So it is not acceptable by him. So he is telling this all. Was hard to believe. This was hard to believe when a grandmother had an husband and she was young. This was very hard to believe for Kushman Singh. My grandfather's portrait, because grandfather's portrait, when he was born, he saw his grandfather only in the portrait. You know what is a portrait? A photo which is kept in the home. If somebody dead, they will be keeping a photo of him. Last how they died, before that the recent photo will be kept. So he had not seen a young grandfather, he had seen an old grandfather. So here he was not able to accept that. So he had seen only the portrait. Children, till here we will keep a full stop and we will continue in the next class, children. Thank you. We will see in the next part.